Welcome to the Wonderful Women podcast with Susan Stewart, and this week featuring the amazing Clare Campbell. Clare is founder of Prickly Thistle, an absolute icon in the tartan industry, but we'll go into that a bit more because it probably isn't what you think at all. I love Clare. I have known her since she was a little girl. I am so blessed, and her mum is one of my dearest friends. Apart from that, I am so proud of the work that Clare does. It is world changing. She is changing the world. What's the strapline, Clare? Will we be doing this in 200 years?
Oh, yeah. So we've so what will she say in 200 years?
What will she say in 200 years? And that is in relation to the beautiful fabrics and products that are made in Prickly Thistle Mill. So for season 1, as you probably all know now, if you're used to the podcast, but if you're just here for the first time, we are posing a question to all the wonderful women that come on. And this question for this season is, can you tell us a time in your life that you faced a challenge or an event happened and it completely changed the trajectory of your life? I never know what the answers are going to be. I just send the question over to these wonderful women, and my goodness, there are stories to be told. So Clare, do you want to add to that introduction at all?
Well, I'm just, you know me, Susan, I would talk for Scotland when it comes to what I do, why I do it, all of the activism, all of the passion, all of the crazy 4 years. But no, if anything, couldn't be prouder. And of all of the things I've done in my life, and I've been so blessed to experience lots of things, I've never felt prouder or worked harder in terms of what we do today in the context of the here and now, and what we know is what the future holds and how we absolutely shape that. So yes, I've never felt prouder working within the fabric of Scotland, but actually it's the fabric of the planet. This is not just weaving tartan. This, that's just such a small part of what we do. Wow, Mill has become a movement. There's no doubt about it.
And it has, and you're absolute rebels in the industry, but it needed and it needs a rebellion. I mean, you and I talk for hours about this. Hours.
No, it's just been a huge learning for me. Yeah, absolutely. And I know there's the big question to talk about, but for me, it's I have learned an incredible amount in the last 4 years about who I am and what I fundamentally support. And we live in a world where, quite often we fund a lot of what we in theory support. And women's relationships with textiles, and that's not just the clothes we buy for ourselves, it's the clothes we buy for our partners, our children, our friends, our clothes for our home, huge amounts invested in textiles. And for the best part of my life, I had no idea what I was funding, no idea with regards to petrochemical textiles and slavery. I funded it all. So this has been an absolutely incredible gift. It was never part of the vision way back when I got the itch that I'm now scratching and now thinking, oh my goodness, no, I had no idea. And it's just been completely, just so awakening to that. But it's so liberating because you feel as, what we wear says everything about us, but actually I was wearing all of the wrong stuff. That was not who I was, and it's just, there's so many parallels. It's just not weaving tartan. It's not that. It's like so fundamental.
That's why I was loath to even mention tartan. Because
I know, no, it's fine, but there's the evolution. What will she say in 200 years? It's such a loved story. There's so many stories with regards to the fabric of Scotland and the rebels and the warriors and the tragedies and the romance and all these kind of intrinsically linked to that is what they wore or what they looked like. And so that story is very well told over the last couple of 100 years, but for me it's about evolution. we live a time when what we wear says everything about us. So in 200 years, what will she say? It's, you know,
Yes.
we need to add to that. We had, and Scott, you know, and I think we've got this great fabric and this great, kind of ethics and values attached to the history. So when you take the principles of that lovely, amazing stories they get told the world over, let's take it and put it into the fight of today. And that's saving the planet. And that's saving all living things on it. So we take all of those values and beliefs and we make it relevant to the world we live in, not relevant to the world 200-300 years ago. That's really interesting, but the gift is what we do with it today. So that's what we do.
And it's so important. I know that, well, you know, I had Maggie and Susie
yes.
in Inverness, and part of that was pre-loved clothes. So pre-loved,
Yep.
I think, is okay, but it was still all really good brands, all beautiful fabrics. That is when I really got into and started realizing the history of fabrics, and also the danger and awfulness of the fashion industry. And I used to go to schools. I know you're doing something with Forshers Academy, which is great. And I went out to schools and did lovely wee presentations. I thought they would be bored, and we ran competitions for upcycling competitions, but they weren't. They were flabbergasted. They really, you know, we would have women then coming into the boutique and saying, "You really affected my son. He has been gone through his wardrobe and given me half his clothes because he's not going to wear them anymore." And as far as fabrics are concerned, if I can't really wear anything that isn't you know, either, you know, a cotton or a linen. I can't wear any synthetic fabrics anymore because my skin feels awful in it. So, you know, anyway.
And it's the paradox of the future is the past. You know, we wore natural fibers, you know, and people have forgotten what it's like to wear natural fibers, if they're plant or animal fibers, and how kind they are. I mean, for me, wool is an amazing piece of fabric because you don't even need to wash it. You know, 25% of all carbon associated with textiles comes from the fact that people are chucking things in the washing machine all the time. Wool just needs a bit of air. Job done. It's antibacterial, it's stain resistant, you know, it's the complete opposite of petrochemical, highly flammable garments. You know, it's got flame retardancy built in. You know, you can sit at the campfire at the end of the day and you will not go up on you know,
hopefully.
Melt but so it's natural fibers, but we've just become so disconnected, really. And I think it's really since the kind of invention of rayon, is it rayon it was? Gosh, I'm thinking nylon rayon for tights, 1930s. And that's when we've seen now 60% of all textiles now consist of petrochemical fabrics. And so you have all these conversations. How are we going to replace 60% of fossil fuel clothes? We don't. We need degrowth in this sector. We do not need to be making as many new clothes. And there absolutely needs to be within the repair reuse economy. And the thing that we're really, really trying to fly the flag on is around school uniforms, because school uniforms carry a lot of stigma, mental health issues, you know, in terms of categorizing somebody, you know, you're from a, you know, that's your disposable income family bracket, this, that, next thing, you know, and we basically, every child in school should be wearing a unique uniform that's in school colours, because there's something important about being united. But every single child should have a unique uniform, as unique as them, but it's still school colours. So we could completely take away that, but we are empowering and hopefully taking into the curriculum that whole ability to deconstruct and reconstruct, so that kids leave school and it's as important as maths and English and some sciences and things, because we need to be a far more resilient, resourceful generation, instead of just going, I'll just jump online, one click and buy. No, actually, I'm going to look at that and go, I've got this, I'll reuse this, I'll repair that, I'll borrow I'll take yours, I'll swap this. And we need to put that back in into the curriculum so it becomes mainstream across every single school in Scotland. And that's really what we want to do with that.
Oh, I love that. I want to help you with that. So
anyway,
on my heart. So back to the question, and I'm sure that there will be the mill will be woven through it, maybe, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Can you?
So the question, Yeah, the question, what, talk about one thing that's made a massive change in my life. Is
Yes.
it, the
Change the
oh,
trajectory of your life.
yeah, I mean, there's probably more to come.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's been, I mean, you know me really well, Susan, since I was little, as you said.
Yes.
I mean, there is always the one major one, that completely, just shook the ground that, you're part of. And yeah, and that was with Paul, definitely. And I
Oh,
think that always will be for
yeah.
for the, the horrific side of things that people go through, and yourself, Susan, more than anybody else. But it's just the depths of that side of darkness gives you the depths of courage, commitment, resilience, and joy that I don't think I would ever experience had I not had that not be part of my life. So yeah, so that is always my baseline. My baseline for everything good and bad in life. There's a baseline. So yeah,
Yes.
it's my it's a yeah, it's my savior, my line. Yeah, nothing else compares. So yeah, losing somebody you love, and it is, and
Absolutely.
it's just the reality of no matter who you are, what you do. I'm here on this podcast talking about doing things with textiles, and I'm, I used to be an accountant, and I'm a mum, and I'm a sister, and I'm an auntie, and I'm a wife. Poor Alan, like, what sort of wife, if he ever watches this podcast? Like, a wife, she's never here. I'm the best
Oh,
wife you
he's
can
a
get,
great
Alan. I'm
husband.
never
He's a brilliant
there.
husband too, isn't he?
But it's, yeah, it's so whoever you are, whatever you do, yeah, that is just, I can't think of anything else that would transform you and your
No,
sense of direction more than going through something like that. It's just, it's, yeah. So
absolutely.
it's just, so yeah, there's lots of little bumps and nudges along the road, but I don't think anything compares to that. And I think it's just, there's with Paul and everything, but it's just, this relationship I have with everyone close around me. That's, it's all, it's in everybody, isn't it? It becomes, it's not just this one incident with you in this
Yeah,
situation. It's just becomes so much, yeah, and enriches life. It does, it really does. And I think
absolutely.
you have to see it that way, don't you? You have to.
You really do. And the worst thing in life has happened. One of the
Yeah,
worst things in life has happened. And
yeah,
um, well, I lost my daughter, Naomi,
yeah.
and it really, of course, I would love nothing better than for her to be here and
Walk straight
alive.
back in.
But
Yeah.
yeah, walk in here and go, oh, there's Claire. However, and the same with Paul. I'm sure you
Yeah.
feel the same way. However, it makes Naomi's death, and I'm sure Paul's death as well, has made me so determined to live a life that has got a point to it, that
You're
I'm honored to be living, that I'm
absolutely.
lucky to be here, and of course we go down the depths of despair, and for a very long time I couldn't even really face it. I would push it away.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm all right. I was very lucky to have her. And yeah, I was very lucky to have her, but I wasn't all right. So
Yeah.
I know that your mum would just jump in the car and come down, because you were in university, and come down
That's
and
right.
with you to get you through your exams
Yeah.
and things,
Yeah.
or just to be there
No,
for you.
absolutely. And and I was uh, luckier in the sense that it was a sibling. It wasn't, I can't imagine, I cannot even imagine, because I'm a mum now, the loss of a child. I can't imagine, because I have my own Paul now, who's
Yes,
very, very like his uncle Paul, who
yes,
he likes to be told that, and he is actually mannerisms and
yeah.
physicality is very,
He
very
is
similar to
so
Paul.
like his
He's
uncle.
yeah, he's like, Mummy, do you think I'm a bit of Uncle Paul? I'm like, yes, toots, of course you are. He's just this, he's just,
Yeah,
yeah, such a softie. But so yeah, so I can't imagine. So I'm lucky. You always go, I'm lucky, and it's but it's, yeah, you're bit on actually living. You have this, you've got this gift of life, and make it count, and make it count for not for what you achieve personally in your life, but it's impact, it's for others, it's broadening of the mind, it's how can you sprinkle as much positiveness and action? It gives you a sense of courage and a bit of a set of balls that I never had before to go, do you know what, sorry, this is like, there's people, and because of what we're doing now, you think, actually, who would have thought, working in the world of textiles, I talk about life and death, but it is, we're literally, what we're wearing is killing us quite often.
It is.
And it's kind of, so it's kind of, so that whole thing is with Paul, it's just given me, and it took a long time, because I was 20 when Paul was killed in the car accident, and he was 19. So I was very young then, and I finished my university. As you say, Mum used to just drop everything and come and stay with me, and Harry was really small then, he was only 8. And I, and Alan, I'd met, I'd been with Alan for 4 years before then. So, and it's so important, and I'm so lucky that he, we're still here together, and he's been, he knew Paul for so long, and he was part of that really important time in my life that is, one of, that shapes and defines me as a wife and a person and as a mum and everything like that. But it does, it just kind of, it does, it just makes you think, you know yourself, you're just like constantly kind of going, well, what's the worst that could happen? We know what's the worst that could happen. I've got life, in me, and I'm going to make it count, and I'm just going to go for it. And because we don't know what tomorrow will bring. And it does, it just, but and I appreciate, in lots of situations, it is quite, it's not easy to turn that around. For, you can put a face on it, but inside it's like, we're all good at playing a role and pretending, and there's times like that, but it's so that trajectory will continue to propel me. I have no idea where, but I'm living, so I'm doing it. I'm doing this, and that's it. So that's, and then it's say the immediate relationships I have with Alan and my kids. They never met Paul, obviously, because I was only 20. But and the relationship I have with my mum, and even younger brother Harry, and everything, and in the realms of tartan, shall we say, there is a sense of identity and legacy, and that was one of the reasons I got really sort of quite interested in it, because I was kind of you're just forever, you're not forever grieving, but you're forever missing them. You're forever processing that they're not there. You're forever there.
You'll grieve forever. People will, you will absolutely grieve forever. I still feel as if I don't have an arm or a part of my body.
Anything that happens, you want them there. They're part of it. What would they say? What would they experience? Oh, I wish you could tell. Or they go off and do their own adventure. You want to hear their adventure. So you're there's, but it's okay. It's okay. You just fuel to your fire, isn't it, to go off and to do that. But it's
you did so well, Claire, and you qualified as an accountant. You got great.
And I've said goodbye to all of that. I thought all that time.
You followed your heart. So you did. You worked for one of the biggest accountancy firms in Scotland, certainly, or are they actually UK wide? Very effective in your work. You looked the part. You were the part, and then.
I wore a lot of polyester, Susan. I have to face that up right now, because anybody's watching this, I'm thinking, don't worry, I own my mistakes.
Listen, darling, we all did. Mind you, I used to sometimes buy Armani's. I would find Armani suits in second-hand shops. I've always been a second-hand girl. And,
it's been filmed. Oh, sorry. I apologize.
It's okay.
It was only Alan coming there. Just you take my keys, darling, and off you go.
Oh, what a shame. Thank you, Alan.
But yes, so I did the accountancy.
Yeah. For how long was that?
Oh, accountancy, So I was at university at the time. We lost Paul, and I was on my 3rd year, so I went back and finished that, and then I came home, and then I started my CA training. So I was in accountancy for about 13 years. So it was so it was just in my kind of.
And that is
Yeah.
really quite a secure position, quite well paid. Your route to progression, you were climbing up the ladder, and then you followed your passion. How did that happen, my love?
Yeah, so yeah, the I'd say the kind of the center point to my life compass now being Paul. He's firmly that pin.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, yeah, you know, the kind of sense of me determined to finish my degree, determined to continue with my accountancy, and become, you know, you have, you know, at that point it was the aspiration to become, you know, secure in who I was and marry the love of my life I met when I was so young. So, you know, you know, have a home together, get married and have children, you know, all of that. And I was so lucky, you know, able to do that. So that was, 13 years. The children had been got a bit older, and I got to my mid-30s, and, you know, I think, gosh, you know, I love to work. I love to challenge and drive, and I have ambition in the sense of achievement and progress, you know, in that way. I like to push things forward. You know, I thrive on anxiety and stress in my life.
You're amazing.
I know, I don't know about that. I don't know. Workaholic, do all of that stuff. And so I'd done that, and I was just, so fortunate in the world of, you know, the professional practice side, and then working in industry, had worked with some amazing people, learned so much, you know, and seeing businesses in different guises that were individuals or a family, so many generations on, and seeing all of the kind of psychology in it, and the emotional human aspect, you know. So yes, you can you know, you can sit there, put accountant's hat on, and let's look at the numbers, but you can see the correlation of an individual and their personality and their desires and their passions and their beliefs and the, you know, the compromises and the not the compromises. I always find the psychology, and I think that's definitely, you know, whether, because I was 20 when we lost Paul, I don't know, would I have been that way without, or I definitely think that with what happened to Paul, it just takes you to a deeper level of heightened emotional awareness, in the sense that, you know, you have this because you went into this hyper state yourself, you know. You just, you know, you were all of a sudden pushed into a world that you never, you know, you just didn't operate on that level. So it just kind of changed me. So I became, 13 years of doing all of that, and and I kind of thought about mid-30s, and I was kind of like, and then Dad had passed away, and that was a strange one. Dad, but going, you know, and going through Dad's things, and, you know, Paul was his baby at the time, and there was just so much of Paul, and it was a kind of like realization, going through all of Dad's things and seeing everything there, just kind of brought all of that back. Well, not all, it was always there, but it brought it back to real front and center, physical. Wow. And I was like, gosh, you know, I'm so fortunate, you know, 2 amazing, beautiful, healthy children, wonderful husband, my mum, my younger brother's doing really well. And he's an accountant. He's still in there. I'm not convinced him to chuck it yet.
He's amazing, honey.
And it was really, so with Dad, so going through all of that, it was kind of like, gosh, right, Clare, you've been so lucky. You've had these incredible experiences. You've been abroad. You live in a beautiful part of the world, in this little 100-year-old cottage. You know, we've been so fortunate in a material sense, but actually, what does that mean? You know, and the phrase I used a lot was like, on her headstone, is it like she had a nice car and she had a nice house and she had lots of nice holidays? No, is that really what I'm, you know, who I am? And it's funny how you find yourself skipping in these things. And I thought, wait a minute, I need to come out with this. That's not really who I am. And you think you have to do it, because society's been changing massively over, well, particularly the last few years. But I suppose as we grow, we kind of see things differently as well. And I just thought, do you know what, actually, and then remembering how I was brought up with Mum, you know, we were so happy with so little. And that was the best memories ever. And realizing you value everything so much more when you have to wait, and you have less of it, and you have to share it, and it's just a complete, you know. And I realized that being an accountant meant that we didn't have to wait, we didn't have to share, but actually that's not good.
Yeah.
It was better in many respects, that aspects, but I know there's always challenges and everything on every side. But yeah, so it was a case of, yeah, what do I, we're very fortunate, we're secure, we're signed, we have our home, our kids are great, my husband's got, you know, a good steady job, and I thought, right, there was just something in me that wasn't just about being a good accountant for a company and doing all of the good financial monitoring, management, you know, projections and growing and all this kind of stuff. And in some sectors I'd worked in, it was just working with people that just values based. All of a sudden, it didn't matter what somebody paid me. If I didn't agree, if I didn't feel like we had the same values and respect for life or individuals, then I just couldn't do it. It didn't matter. So so to quit all of that, and having worked in the corporate world for quite some time, I thought I just really wanted to one day maybe create a workplace for people and build a culture that was just me taking all of the great things I'd experienced in other places and then working to make sure that, you know, the other sides didn't creep in. And so I always wanted to create the jobs and create that culture that I could have an influence over and maybe help lead a little bit more on that I could in other roles. Because when you're an accountant in every other job, you're just the accountant. You know what? Quite often they're like, you have no input on operations, you have no input on marketing, you have no input. You're like literally bean counter, and I'm like, I'm not a bean counter. I'm like,
you know, I'm into all. Are not. And accountants are very, very often the most important person in a business. And there's lots of CEOs that have been accountants, and they are successful.
Yeah. So I think it was that, and just So I just thought, right, okay, Claire, you've taken all of that. What's life all about? Mid-30s, you could very easily be another 10 years on, Claire, you know, wait till the kids get to, you know, if they want to go off and do anything and need a bit of support to go off and do studying, or if they don't, fine. No, you know, I'm the complete anti. Alan's like, oh, they need to go and study. And I'm like, no, they actually don't. They can do whatever they want as long as they're happy, you know. So I just, so that was the time to do it. And Dad, and there was all these triggers, and it'd been, you know, sort of 15 years since we lost Paul. And I thought, right, I need to do it. So, and then I just fell down this rabbit hole of Alice in Wonderland, eat me, drink me, you name it. I'm still in Wonderland, I think, somewhere. I don't know where I am.
You have already had the most incredible impact on the world. People are listening.
Thank you.
And you know, you're on TV, you go over to America, you've traveled the world. You have had really famous, I think you're more famous than them all. Because of what you're doing, and you are impacting the world of so-called fashion, you know, and I don't agree with fashion, but you are our version of a real Scottish fashionista. And speaking with you here, I have got a great idea for next season. You've just given me next season's question. I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but you'll be back on next season, most definitely, because you'll have a lot to say about the next question. It is, I mean, I am always in awe of you, Claire. You work so hard. You wrap that mill till goodness knows when every night. You've given it your heart and soul. You have employed the most incredible team of people.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. They're just, I've been so lucky. They're just such an amazing bunch of people, and it's just, at times it's, you know, there is a few times in the year. I wish it was more often than that, but you know, I do really enjoy stepping back and just kind of inhaling how wonderful they are, you know, and what they're doing. It's horrible being in this chair most of the time. Actually, it's not horrible, but it's it's the serious one. As I was having a conversation with Mary the other day, and I was like, oh my God, as Charlie calls me, my daughter, she's like, Mum, you're such a fun sponge. And I'm like, oh darling, I don't mean to be a fun sponge. Mum's actually, I take all the fun out of every situation because here I come.
I've never heard that. Oh, she didn't mean it. She didn't.
So I'm a fun sponge. And I was like, do you know what, Toots, you're right. And it was but yeah, it's the level of seriousness, it's difficult to because I take it seriously. I don't take myself seriously, but I do take this seriously. And but yeah, you're right. I mean, this play, we're just so lucky. But they've all, and I've used the analogy of flock of geese. They're an incredible bunch of people, incredible, and they're all so different, but yet they just all. And I think I'd like to think it's because we're all in that place of, I hopefully they enjoy, they are inspired by the vision and the purpose of why we do what we do, not just what we do and what we produce. And we want to sell less to more people, absolutely. To survive is to thrive and to make an impact. But I think because why we do it and why there is no compromise on things when it comes to people and planet. So it's a difficult path at times, it's challenging. It's, and there's always an easier route, but it's not the right route. So it's kind of like, sorry, if it's not the right route, no matter how easy that little pathway looks, we can't do it. So, but I think I'd like to think the team are, but they all are co-authors, this 4 years from me being in my shed on my own in the garden, to then coming here, every single one of them contributes. There's just this constant, contribution and nudge and little wink and little whatever. So there is just this beautiful, it's like the looms, and I've said this before as well, but, we all work together. There's all, and sometimes one shuttle will lead another, or one cog's working harder, another, somebody goes at a different tempo, but actually together there is this real kind of sense of, hopefully we just feel really proud to be doing what we're doing in a decisive decade. We're living an incredibly historic time in so many ways. And to be able to be in to come to a workplace where you feel like actually you feel really good on so many levels about what you're doing is nice. It's really, really nice. You
can always you can tell that everybody loves to be there. You actually can when you go in. It's a sense of ownership that everyone owns it. It's not just you that owns it. And I know that you had a very successful crowdfunding campaign, round 2. If at first,
because the first one failed. Yes,
that was amazing. And everything is going to go on from strength to strength. Very quickly explain the clothes that you're designing at the moment and their sustainability and the way that there's no waste at all.
It's it's all an evolution. Everything's an evolution. I have no idea what I'll be doing in 10 years or tomorrow, to be honest, Susan. It's always a constant evolution. But I mean, for clothing, we've just kind of, it's learning more about the sector all along. And this kind of the craziness of, the manufacturing and the operational, and obviously all of the ugliness around modern slavery and all of this type of stuff that goes on. And when you start looking at the true cost of fashion, it's just, oh gosh, I just think, how did I not know this? Because this is not new. This has been hidden for decades.
Yeah,
it's been hidden for decades. But the realization of, we are as women often in a home, or a female in the home, we're the biggest influencers when it comes to consuming textiles. So we kind of, 4 years, long story, we've tried lots of different things. Some things didn't work, some things did, some things are on another shelf for another day. We kind of got to the end of last year and we thought we're coming up to 4 years of operating as a mill. And what are we all about? We're just like, right, who are we? What are we? Let's do one thing and do it absolutely like off the scale, badass, make everything happen. And we thought, right, okay, women's clothes. And throughout that couple of years of having our own collection growing, as well as working for other people, and commissioning designs with us and commissioning collections with us. It was looking at textile fashion. That's when I went like fashion style. We make clothes because that's what we wear. So all these words are hijacked, aren't they? Every definition of every word right now is just like crazy. But so we make clothes. But there was kind of thinking, okay, what is some of these big problems? Well, one was I didn't realize 25% of most textiles are wasted in the cutting room for patterns that don't fit women. So I mean, I get, accountant would go, operational efficiency, let's bang it all out, let's rationalize our offering. It's all about volume, it's all about time saved, it's about, basically, if we only make a couple of quid, but we sell 2 million of them, brilliant. We don't need 2 million, we only need 200. But, so there's all this kind of, growth KPIs that these businesses worked on, but they were just running in such a way that actually it was okay to bin 25% of textiles. And I was like, well, this is just nuts. A lot of it's petrochemical clothes. So that's just straight to landfill, or it's burned and it's waste colonization in the global south. I mean, the global south's burning 11 months of the year with just the Western world's, castaways. It's crazy. So 25% of all textiles is binned. And we thought, right, does anyone know how hard it took us to weave a meter of fabric? We are not putting a quarter of that in the bin.
No.
No matter what. We were like blood, sweat, and tears for 2 years of these looms and, testing the patients, going, oh my God, will it work? Will it work? And we thought, right, okay then. So historically, with a bit of Scottish awareness and acknowledgement, but evolution is we used to make clothes with no waste. The bloody kilt's not got a single, even the modern kilt is not zero waste. The modern kilt has got masses cut out in the pleats, masses under the canvas. And it's only when you start to look at it going, why are we cutting all this out? And then you start thinking about, so one is, it's just crazy waste. Two is, it took so much blood, sweat and tears to weave this fabric. We're not cutting it. And then three was actually, why does everything have to look the same? Not one of us looks the same. So why do we go into these stores across cities and countries and think, actually, we've got the exact same in every size in every store? I mean, come on, let's embrace the uniqueness of who we are. Let's make it actually the complete opposite of, and the complete opposite of I look like her. But actually what happens is somebody will go, well, you don't look as good as her in that. I mean, it just all becomes so toxic. So we're like that, bugger that. Nothing, literally cut off the roll, zero waste design, no two things will be the same. The pattern as it cuts is the pattern as it cuts. And we kind of thought about this whole kind of Lego system of, if we make things out of squares, rectangles and triangles from a large rectangle, there's no waste. So we wanted to create garments then actually, so we had this creative restriction, but actually to inspired us to be more creative, because as soon as you put boundaries in it, well, you're like, okay, so it's like, how do you survive in a desert island? Well, you don't have the timber merchants, and you don't have this. You get creative, you use what you have. So we were like, right, okay, let's put these things in place, let's get super creative. No waste. How do we make crotches? Oh my God, without cutting out a curve. Everybody makes trousers and they cut out the curve of the crotch. No, we can't do it. So it took us a good couple of years to make trousers, because we're just like, how do we get this to work? So everything is Lego based, squares and rectangles, with the odd triangle. There's loads more in triangles we want to do, but we're just kind of like on our first kind of real collection this year. And what that does is then we put in an extra tier of restriction, driven by, we want to be more creative and stylish, but also we respect how damaging textiles are. So only 1% of all textiles are globally recycled. So that's because so many garments have sequins, rivets, stuff, embellishments. Actually, to recycle that is an absolute bloody nightmare, because how do you take all of that apart? So we thought, okay, so how do we, and I just had this thing for zips and buttons. I just didn't think they were very pretty in the sense of a zip and a button. And then you think about so zips and buttons is another piece of hardware that's really difficult in terms of recycling and doing fibre to fibre recycling.
And plastic,
we thought, right,
a lot of the time.
Exactly. So we'll go kilt strap, leather strap, buckle. Right, okay, brilliant, easy. When it comes off a garment, it can actually be reused. And I know buttons can be as well, don't get me wrong, and zips to a degree. So we quilt strap and buckle, and then we go, oh, hey, presto, guess what? We've got a 3-inch size range in every quilt strap and buckle. You don't get that with a zip and a button. I like to wear my clothes and eat now and then, so that actually, if I want to go up a hole, I'm going to go up a hole. If I don't, I can go down a hole. So this is like this crazy fashion world. Women have been an 8, a 10, a 12, a 14, a 16, and 18, go up a size, down a size, all just purely for us to consume. So we thought, no, to hell with this. We make garments that will actually last you a lifetime. So they have the size range in there. They're super easy to break down and recover and do fibre to fibre recycling. But if you want to take it apart, then actually you've got a walking fabric store. So if you look at a lot of garments that you take apart today, you probably could lose up to half that fabric, because when you start to unpick, you realize, oh, there's this shape, there's that shape, there's this bit missing here, there's this. Literally, when you take our garments apart, you have squares and rectangles straight back at you. So you can do whatever you want with it. So it's taking zero waste design to its entirety. It's cradle to cradle. It's like no waste in the beginning, no waste at the end. And it actually will fit you if you go up 3 inches or down 3 inches.
I go up an inch every weekend. I swear to goodness, an inch or 2 every weekend, then it comes back off.
We all do.
And there's no universal sizing. It's a load of absolute nonsense. Well, I love this. I am going to put a link through to your website so that people can.
Oh, thank you.
They're gorgeous, because I know there's also 4 colours, and there's of tartan that you're constantly and they'll be able to see that. And so Clare, if you don't know Clare, she's in Prickly Thistle Mill in Evington in the Highlands of Scotland. Do you have any events on, Clare, during the summer this year?
Yeah, so we're going to be venturing out a little bit this year, which we've not done, because we created our own collection, and we had an e-commerce platform in January 20, but we closed in March 20. So we've been very much digitally trading, shall we say, for the best part of over 2 years. But so we'll be doing some stuff in Edinburgh and London in June and July. And so we've now got people can freely come to our mill at any point. We have our canvas castles, bell tents, no, they're castles. Canvas castles, bell tent boutiques, wherever. We've got chill out spaces where people can come and get hands on with our creations and see everything, try things on. And if they want to take a tour, they can see our century-old looms. They can see what work goes into making clothing. I think there's been a bit of a disconnect, because we associate price with actually how much effort goes into making something, and we don't understand, how modern slavery works. When we do, sort of buy from overseas, they might just, it's not illegal in their country, but the fact is they just have no laws to protect them, so they're not breaking the law, but it is a cheaper supply chain and things like that. So when they come here, they can actually realize and appreciate, like what we all did over 4 years was like, wow, there is so much work into creating this. And then when you buy a product, knowing who made it, what it's made of, where it's made, that completely transforms all meaning, sense of pride, relationship, care that you have for that product. That all of a sudden that becomes the thing, rather than, oh, I got this on sale in this shop. It's like, wait till I tell you who made this and where they made it, and we do this, and they're,
exactly.
So we have.
And I met them, and I love it. So people can come and see us. I mean, we're looking at trying, probably will be maybe end of July. We're going to try and see if we can do some sort of end of month blank canvas events, and see if we can get people who are in our local community to kind of come and see what we're about, what we do, because we know a lot of people domestically in the area know we exist but have never been here. So we want to try and do more, but hopefully that'll come once we start to get more PR around what we're doing with the schools, because so we feel that for us as a BCorp, we are the first and only BCorp textiles mill in the whole of the UK, which I am so freaking proud of. To be the first one. So that's a huge achievement for us, because we're tiny, and we know now many textiles related businesses across the UK are all now frantically doing their BCorp assessment. But we were first. You're a leader. You're a trailblazer for everybody. Well, my dear, thank you.
No,
so,
thank
so
you.
much. Thank you for, and I didn't know if you would talk about Paul, but of course you would.
Yeah.
I just love, I love you, and thank you for your story, and
No,
thank
I
you
love
for your
you.
strength, and thank you
No,
for what you're doing for
well,
this incredible industry.
no, I mean, you need to be on other people's podcasts too, because you are as well, because what you do, for as long as, all my life, you are the warrior, because I know we've kind of had this before, Mason, but you are this warrior woman that no matter what, you are there. You're there. You're pushing. You're charging forward. There's positivity. There's bring everyone together. So what you do brings out the best in people, Susan. So thank you for doing what you do and creating platforms like this to empower women to, for the times when they think they're not good enough and it's not working, you're there just going, with your smile. So thank you for what you do. Honestly, it's an absolute honor for me to be part of your your podcast and be on this, because what you do is amazing, honestly. So love you lots.
I love you too. Thank you, Clare.
Oh no, thank